spooky story time while we do our hair. A follower that wants to remain anonymous sent me this story and we're going to call it Smoke. And for the sake of the story, we're going to call her Beth. Beth says that this happened to her mom when she was very little, but she clearly remembers everything. Beth says that when she was little, she lived in her home with her parents and her 2 other siblings. And she says that her and her siblings were playing outside while her mom was in her bedroom laying down reading a book. And Beth says that they always experienced really paranormal things, but nothing to this extent. So her dad wasn't home, everyone was playing outside, her mom was in her room by herself. She's reading, and out of nowhere, she gets really cold and experiences crazy goosebumps. And Beth says that her mom is very religious, so she basically just brushed it off. So her mom is there in her bedroom, continues to read, and out of the corner of her eye, she sees this like heavy black smoke coming out of the corner of her bedroom. And she says that she can just feel that it's like this heavy, dark something, so she just closes her eyes and hopes that when she opens them, it goes away. When she opens them, the smoke is still there, but it's starting to form into a face. The face of, starts with a D, ends with an L. So naturally, she's freaking out. She's literally frozen. And then this cloud of smoke starts to kind of get closer to her. So she covers her face with the blanket, and then she feels the blanket starting to get pulled off of her. So she starts praying for what seems like hours, and she finally feels okay enough to take the blankets off of her face. And when she does, whatever was there is now gone. And Beth says that she clearly remembers the look of fear in her mom's face as she was telling her dad. And she says that 2 years later, thankfully, they moved out of that house and they never experienced anything paranormal again. What do you guys think? Do you think this has something to do with the family, with the house? Why all of a sudden? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much to Beth for sending me the spooky story. If you guys have any other stories you'd like for me to read, please send them via DM or email and I'd love to read them, and I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye!
I got an email from somebody saying that her and her entire family were haunted by a mimic that looked exactly like what she would look like in the future if she continued to harm herself. It does mention that she self-harms, but it doesn't go into detail or anything. But if you don't want to hear that, then please scroll. So Jerica had been recently engaging in self-harm, and she got the idea from a friend. So Jerica is 12 years old at the time, and she's sharing a twin bed with her 6-year-old sister in a tiny little single-wide trailer home. Now, nothing spooky had ever happened in this house, but one night she went to sleep and she woke up because she heard somebody in complete frantics. They were like murmuring / whispering what they were frantically saying, and she just listened for a minute while pretending to be asleep until she finally heard what they were saying clearly. Whatever it was in her room said something along the lines of, if your friend was going to jump off a bridge, would you follow her? So she sits up in bed as soon as she hears this, and she looks over, and 2 feet away from her at most is this girl standing in front of her. She was very pale with straggly strawberry blonde long hair. At this point, this woman or whoever it was starts screaming something at Jerica, but Jerica can't hear what she's saying. She said that she could hear her screaming a little bit, but it sounded like the volume was on very low, but she just looks absolutely frantic. But as soon as she realized that Jerica could see her, she looked utterly shocked and she just stopped, went completely silent. But Jerica was shocked too for a couple different reasons. 1, she could see through her. 2, she was floating. And 3, she was wearing the same family heirloom nightgown that Jerica was wearing. And 4, she looked exactly like Jerica, except for she was emaciated and looked disheveled and sickly, and she looked older than Jerica. Jerica said that immediately in her head, she was like, this looks like the future me if I keep down the path I'm going. Well, as soon as she sees that Jerica sees her, she just fades away. Well, at this point, Jerica is like, there's no way that this just happened. This was just a weird dream. So she pulls her covers over her head and she goes back to sleep. But it gets creepier. In the morning, her and her mom are getting ready in the same bathroom, and she can just tell that there's something off about her mom. So she asks her mom, what's wrong? And her mom is like, yeah, you would not believe me even if you tried. So Jerica says, try me. And her mom looks over at her and goes, you were in my room last night. So Jerica just starts shaking her head. Nope. No. And this is when her mom proceeds to tell her what happened that night. So her mom says that the night before, she's sleeping in the middle of the night and she feels somebody nudging her from the side of the bed, and she thinks that it's her kid, so she just ignores it. But that's when her mom realizes that neither of them are tall enough to be nudging her from the inside of the bed unless their bodies were pressed up against like the side of the bed. And she would have felt that. She looks above her and she sees a woman floating horizontally above her in a white silk dress. Jerica just cuts her off and she just describes the rest of the dress to her. She was like, it had these little flowers over it and a square-shaped neckline area and chest over lace, and it looked like exactly like the one that I was wearing, the heirloom. And now that they know that they've seen the same thing, her mom proceeds to tell the rest of the story, which is a lot creepier than what Jerica experienced. So this thing nudges her awake, and as soon as her mom looks at her, she's obviously floating horizontally. She just floats downwards, like she's facing up, but she's floating downwards. Just right when she was about to touch the floor, she stopped, and she looks up at her mom with this menacing grimace on her face. And then she just floats down the hallway like that on the floor towards Jerica's room. As they're both finishing talking about what happened to one another, her aunt, who was sleeping over, was like sleeping on the couch, comes rushing in the bedroom and is like, I gotta go. I'm never staying here again. They tried to get her to talk about what happened, but she refused to talk about it and just dipped. Jerica said that still to this day, her aunt actually won't talk about what happened to her. And her little sister woke up and went into the bathroom and also said, who was walking up and down the hallway last night when no one was doing that? So what did you guys think about this story? I think it's very interesting that Jerica had a not so scary experience. It was probably scary to her, but it sounds like the girl or the woman or her wasn't trying to scare her. It was trying to warn her. But it sounds like when she went to into her mom's room, that she was trying to scare her. So that is very confusing to me. So do you guys think this was a good entity? Do you think it was a bad entity? Do you think it was someone trying to warn her? Why did it scare her mom? I have so many questions, but I will tell you, the good part of the story is that Jerica is now in recovery from self-harm. She does not do it anymore. So great job, Jerica. That is amazing. I'm so glad that you stopped doing that. And anyone else who is suffering from self-harm, I truly hope that you get some help. You are not alone. I promise you there are so many resources, and I will drop them in the description. So those are my questions. So drop all your thoughts, opinions, and suggestions in the comments. But as always, please be respectful. And now I'm going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Martine Russell 612, you know what you said. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I work so hard on these videos, so when people say things like that, it just freaking melts my heart. Thank you so much for being a part of my community, and thank you for being kind, and thank you for leaving comments and pushing out my videos, and thank you for what you said. I hope that you know how much I truly appreciate you. I am so grateful to have friends here on TikTok like you. I hate calling you guys followers, so TikTok friends. But I appreciate you. I hope you know that. I love you, girl. Well, before I go into the next shout out, that reminds me of something. Someone messaged me. Her name is Katie, and she had such a great idea. She said that I should call my community members something like special. So she suggested spooky babies, and I loved that so much. So I give all the credit to her for suggesting this. If you guys like that name, and if you even want me to call you something, then please drop it below. If you can think of other names that you like, then drop them below, and I'll do the one that has the most comments or the most likes. But if you guys don't want me to do this, then I totally understand, and that's fine too. But I just thought it was a really cute idea. So drop your thoughts on that below, please. Johnny5Alive13, you said that I was one of the few people who can hold your attention. I love that. Thank you so much. It's hard to hold people's attention, especially on TikTok. People have no attention span on TikTok, so you have to really be super engaging and creative with the way that you talk, with your hook, with what you say throughout the video to keep people's attention. So you saying that is really nice. Thank you so much, because I work really hard to do that. So I appreciated that comment. Thank you so much for being a part of my community. Thank you so much for being kind and leaving comments and pushing my videos out. I really hope that you know how much I appreciate you. I love you. And with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories in here every single night that you guys submit to me. I cannot talk, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories, have a safe night, and what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
The flight, and tell me why I get off my flight and he's waiting for me at the gate. Story time about my creepy history teacher with receipts. If you want to see part 1 of the story time, it's actually going to be on Genesis's account. This was such a creepy man that it has to be made into a story time by 2 separate girls. So a little bit of backstory. He started becoming a teacher my freshman year of high school during COVID, and then he later became a permanent teacher during my sophomore year. So I had him all 4 years of high school. Me and my friend were actually really close to him. Like, we would come hang out with him during our free periods. Also very open with us about his life. Talk about himself going to AA. He would talk about his past relationships, and he was also a first responder at 9/11. Towards the end of my senior year, we find out that he got fired from his old job for
texting a freshman. Me and my friends, we just cut all ties with him because we're like, we started rethinking our relationship with this man, and we're just like, ooh, like, that's a little, like, that's not right. That's a little weird. Also in Genesis Storytime, she mentions that for graduation, he got 2 girls, like, dolls as graduation gifts. That was me and my friend. Basically, the backstory behind that is, like, he was a very big bidder. It's like a site that's kind of like eBay, where you just go and you just bid on items. I told my friend, like, he would show me and my friend, like, different items that he wanted to get for, like, me and my friend, because it reminded him of us. So one day while he's bidding, he shows my friend this Chinese Empress Barbie doll. He's like, I really want to get it for Olivia because, like, it reminds me of her. What do you mean the Chinese Empress Barbie doll reminds you of me, a Chinese student? Anyway, he loses the bid and I don't end up, like, getting the Barbie doll until my high school graduation. Standing outside my high school, and I'm taking photos after graduation with my family and everything, with my boyfriend's family, and I see him walking at the corner of my eye, and I'm like, please don't walk up to me, please don't walk up to me. But he's walking up to me while holding something, comes up to me and gives me the fucking Barbie doll. I'm just super uncomfortable the whole time. Like, I have not talked to him in months, and he just gave me a freaking Barbie doll for my graduation. Like, he tries to give me a hug and everything, and it's just super awkward. There's a picture of that. Some more pictures of that because this interaction was just so awkward. Time after he gives me the Barbie doll, he's like, oh, I'm moving up to another high school that's a few hours away from my university. Then he asked me right then and there, he's like, just let me know when you and Sparger, my other friend, are free. My friend had the same name, so he would just refer to us as, like, Ollie and Sparger. Oh, just let me know when you guys are free. Let me take you out to, like, lunch or something. Let's hang out. Like, follow me on Instagram. Like, I'm on Instagram now. Do not follow this man on Instagram or anything. He ends up finding my account. He sends me a DM asking us again to, like, go out to lunch or something. Here's that screenshot too. Oh, like, I just ignore it, and then I go home for a concert back to my hometown. And I'm on the plane, and I hear somebody calling my name because I have my headphones on, and so I turn around, and why the fuck is he on my flight? Literally flagging me down the aisle so that he knows that I see him. I'm sitting on, like, this hour or something long flight, and I'm just like, just being in the same, like, vicinity as him was just so uncomfortable. Like, I get my stuff, I get off the flight, and tell me why I get off my flight, and he's waiting for me at the gate. I'm just like, I can't avoid him. Like, he's literally blocking the gate. He's blocking my only exit out of this airport, and so, like, I have to walk with him. So he's, like, trying to make conversation, and he's like, oh, why didn't you respond to my message? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't see it. Like, me and Olivia have been so busy. I was in a sorority, I was doing my schoolwork, I was working a job, do not have time to be going to lunch. And as we're walking out the airport, he keeps telling me, like, oh, take a selfie of you and me so you could show people that you saw your favorite teacher from high school on your flight. I just keep laughing uncomfortably until he stops asking, and I ended up not taking a photo because I'm like, I don't want another picture of him in my camera roll. On my flight back home, he's on my same flight again, and he tries to talk to me there. And I don't have the screenshot of the second DM because I deleted it, but after I get home to university, he DMs me again asking to take me and my friend out to lunch. At that point, I'm just like, this is so weird. Like, why are you, like, tracking me down? But then I ended up blocking him on Facebook and Instagram. I block him on Instagram and Facebook. I see from a friend that he changed his Instagram and his Facebook profile pictures to a selfie of him at my university's football stadium. Those are the 2 main things that happened with him. Go check out Genesis Storytime because she has more stories about this man, and I'm like, why was he employed at our school?
Creepy story time. So when I was about 16 years old, I spent the night at my friend's house. In the middle of the night, I got up because I had to use the bathroom. So I walked out into the hallway and I ran across this woman. Well, this figure of a woman. She was short, had really long jet black hair with this long oversized, like, pajamas. She was standing there looking at me like, who are you? I'm thinking, I must be imagining this. It's the middle of the night. I'm tired. I'm seeing things. So I walk past her. As I walk past her, the hairs in the back of my neck stand up. I hurry up, use the bathroom, run back to my friend's room, and I go under the covers. The next morning, I tell her mom about it. She actually entertained it and asked me, like, what did she look like? When I told her what she looked like, she pulled a picture and goes, that was my mom. She passed away 15 years ago. I always had a feeling that she came and checked up on me, but you just confirmed that.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Okay, yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
Ghost stories from Mexico just hit different. This story scared the shit out of me. My lights just literally went out. I am not fucking kidding you. All the lights in the house are off. What the fuck? That's how you know this is a scary story. Okay, let's try this again. That really freaked me out. Dana is around 17 or 18 years old at this time. Dana was around 17 or 18 years old at this time, and her mom and her sister moved into like a rental house. It was like a ranch style house. The house had 2 rooms in it. Her mom and her sister shared a room, and her older sister shared a room. I'm so freaked out right now. So the first few days are okay for her, but it's around like the second week is when she started to feel like she was being watched, and she was getting chills a lot. Now, Dana really likes to stay up late and read books, and one night she's staying up late and she's reading a book, and she starts to hear this whispering sound, but she can't make out what it's saying. Now, Dana was super sleep deprived at this point, so she didn't really get spooked, but then she started hearing the voices during the day. And she would ask everybody, like her sisters, are you hearing this? And nobody was hearing anything except for her. And then the voices started to get louder. She starts getting paranoid. She can't sleep. And then one night she starts hearing the voices and they become clearer. She hears her name and it's being chanted. Dana, Dana, Dana. She starts telling her mom about this because she thinks that she's losing her mind. This is when her mom tells her something terrifying. Her mom tells her that the owner of the house told her that an older woman had passed away in that house and that people would sometimes see this older woman peeking out of Dana's room. So her mom's like, listen, start praying before you go to bed and this is going to help you. And so she does that. She starts to pray and things get worse. She would not sleep and she would cry at night because the voices were just getting worse and louder. She starts pulling her hair and scratching herself. And one night she's in bed and her sister is also in the room. Her sister's asleep and she's reading a book and she starts to get chills. So she slowly looks up and there's a woman floating mid-air. Her face was white and she had black eyes and long black hair and she seemed to be wearing a white nightgown. Now in this moment, the woman is not looking at her, but as soon as Dana looked up, the woman slowly turns her head and looks straight at her. Dana's heart is beating out of her chest at this point. She said it literally hurt. She said it all happened so fast and by the time she blinked, the woman is just gone. So at this point, Dana is absolutely terrified. So she starts yelling her sister's name until she finally wakes up and her sister is like, what is going on? What is wrong with you? And she's like, I just saw a woman. And she just starts crying her eyes out. She then runs over to her sister's bed and she's like, can I please sleep with you? And her sister lets her sleep with her. And now her sisters didn't really believe her at first until they saw her crying. The scary thing was Dana was the only thing hearing anything in the house or seeing anything in the house. Nobody else was. But when she told her mother did go to the church and she got holy water and she sprayed it all around the house. She continues to hear the voices at this point, but she does not see the woman again. But one night she's chilling in her bed. It's around 10 p.m. when suddenly she starts to get chills again. So she slowly looks at her door and it's open. There's this man with black eyes and this disgusting smile on his face and he's just peeking into the room. So she's like, hell no. So she goes and tells her mom again and she is freaking out. So her mom goes and takes her to a pastor and the pastor is like, listen, you need to start going to church. So he gives them holy water again and she starts going to church and she does not see anything anymore, but she continues to hear the whispers. The whispers continued everywhere she went, right? But she started to get used to it at this point. It didn't bother her anymore because she was desensitized to it. And then she ends up moving to the US. And as soon as she moves to the US, the whispers just stop. She still does not understand who or what was whispering to her and why it was only choosing her to bother. But then she starts to wonder, did this all start because of something that happened to her when she was 8 years old? And this part is the most terrifying part of the story. So when Dana was 8 years old, she lived with her aunt in Modesto, California. She lived with 6 female cousins there, her mom, her older sister, and her aunt. When she was this age, she used to speak back a lot and she would get grounded a lot for it. So she took up drawing. That was like her, to pass her time when she was grounded, she would draw. Well, her and her sister shared a room and inside the room there was this old TV, but it was just there as storage. One day, her and her sister are in their room and she's drawing and her sister's trying to talk to her and she's just ignoring her. When suddenly she notices something out of the corner of her eye in the TV reflection. She sees a little girl with a white face and black eyes, same as the other woman, and it's just crouching down and staring at her. So Dana starts yelling, look, there's a little girl, there's a little girl, and her sister turns and looks and she doesn't see anything. She's like, what are you talking about? So Dana decides to draw this little girl and she does, and she shows her sister and her sister gets terrified and she goes and tells her aunt. Her aunt completely ignores this and her sister just kind of gives her a side eye, but Dana becomes obsessed with this little girl and she starts drawing her all the time. Thing is though, is she never saw her again. again. Well, a few years later, when she's 14 years old, she goes back to Mexico and she goes to live with her grandmother. And she said that her grandmother's house was just haunted. It was terrifying. She said one day she was in the kitchen, she walks over to the sink, and she suddenly hears something. There's this growling, masculine voice growling in her ear. She said that this kind of became a thing. Every time that she went to the sink, she would hear this growling in her ear. She then said that one day she's in her room and she wakes up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because she hears this shaking sound. And she looks over at her door and her door is just violently shaking. Not a little bit, it's violently shaking. Then her dogs start barking, and they are barking all night long. Well, she has no choice but to ignore this, so she eventually falls asleep. Well, the next day she wakes up and it's raining, and her and her grandmother go to the store. Well, when they come back from the store, they walk inside of the house, and her sisters are absolutely distraught. And her and her grandmother are like, what is going on? And her sisters tell them that while they were home alone, they heard some woman laughing hysterically outside of the house. So her grandmother's like, look, just pray and everything will be okay. Like, you guys have to use God, just pray. Well, Dana at this point is like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom. So she walks into the bathroom and she hears what sounds like this little girl in the bathroom. And she is like, what is that noise? And then she hears very clearly, come play with me. She said that this scared her so bad that she was literally shaking with fear. Now, she doesn't know if all of this is correlated, but the woman laughing outside and then her seeing the woman floating in the air and then the little girl that she was obsessed with that looked exactly like the woman, wondering if this is the same entity. And yes, I should have told that story in reverse. I should have told the last part first and the first part last, but I actually didn't see that second part until after I was already done telling the story, and I was not about to do the video all over again. But what did you guys think about that story? I think that is super creepy. I definitely think that she has an attachment and has her whole life. I think she has a gift because she keeps getting chills in every house that she goes to, and then she sees a spirit. I think that's a sign of her gift, and I think that she needs to learn how to either block it or utilize it. That is just my opinion. It's scary to have a gift, you know? Sometimes you don't want to have it because you hear and see things that are really scary. But if you learn how to use it, it can be a good thing. I just hope that you get the help that you need, Dana, because I want your life to be easier. I don't want you to be scared all the time because I know you still hear this whispering. The fact that my power went out while I was telling this story and then went back on 2 seconds later and then the lights flickered, that was terrifying. I don't even know how I continued to tell the story. I had to take like a 30-minute break there because that really scared me. But whether it was related to the story or not, but if you guys have any thoughts, opinions, or suggestions, please drop them in the comments. But as always, please be respectful. Before I do the shout outs, I did make a video on this, you guys, today, but this is my merch. It says right here, Kaisa, Scary Spooky Stories with a little ghost heart. And it also says spooky kisses and haunted hugs in the back. Ignore the dog hair, please. For also hoodies and crew necks and this tumbler right here. It says Kaisa, Scary Spooky Stories. And then it has spooky kisses and haunted hugs on the back. Now, you can also have a shirt say, if God brought you to it, he'll take you through it. And you can have that written on the tumbler or on the shirt, sweaters, or crew necks. But now let's go into my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Hippie Heart 74, you said you love my community and how positive it is here and that you love my stories, and that means so much to me. I love my community so much. I feel like the luckiest person in the world to have it. So thank you for saying that, and thank you for being a part of my community. I truly appreciate your kindness. Like, you are part of it now, and that was such an awesome comment. It made me feel so good, and I just hope that you know how much I appreciate you supporting me and just being kind. Thank you so much. I love you, girl. King_Nessa93, you are so sweet. You said that you can't sleep without my stories. I love that so much. Thank you so much for supporting me like that and watching them every single day. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you for being kind. Thank you for liking me so much. Like, I love it when people like my stories enough to watch them every single day. I feel so lucky and humbled to have that. So thank you for being a part of that. And I hope you also know how much I truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. I love you, girl. And with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button. I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
Another real life scary story time, and this one is from a fellow TikToker. Now, I had done a live about a week ago, and she came on and she started to tell me the story, and I'm like, wait a second, I'm not going to do it justice. You need to send me the whole thing and I'll tell it for you. Here's what happened to her. She said, this happened in the Philippines when I was a teenager. I lived with my grandparents in an old Spanish-style 2-story house. My bedroom was upstairs. My aunt, on my mother's side, lived with us too. One day she told me that she saw me walking in front of the yard. She was in the living room on the first floor when she noticed me passing by. She even called my name, but I just ignored her and I kept walking. She thought it was strange. The weird thing is that same day I had only just come downstairs out of my room well past noontime because I had stayed up late the night before. I greeted my aunt and I said, "Good afternoon, I just woke up." She looked at me in shock and said, "How? I just saw you walk by the front door." I told her that's impossible, I just woke up. Then she adds something that made my blood run cold. She said, "Wait a minute. The girl that I saw had jet black hair, but your hair is blonde. That's nuts." And she tells me that her hair, she had just dyed it blonde when she turned 15, but her aunt saw her with jet black hair. She goes on to say she swore the girl looked exactly like me. Same height, same face, everything except with black hair. And when she called out, the girl didn't even acknowledge her. That's when I freaked out and I said, "Auntie, you are scaring me." Now, this is important because this is a story like the ones, if any of you have been following my spooky, scary stories, the doppelganger, the girlfriend who I told you I saw, and I thought it was my girlfriend, but it wasn't. But anyway, that was her. Now, we're lucky because we get a second story from April Grigsby. This is now all grown up. She's already married and she's living in Canada back in 2016. She says it was our first year together, meaning her and her husband, in Mississauga, Ontario. One night I was away for work at Mississauga Beach for a whole week. My husband stayed home. Every night while I was gone, we would chat and say goodnight before I went to sleep around 8 or 9 p.m. That night was no different. I said goodnight to him and went to bed. He stayed up late as usual because he liked to play video games up until late. He said to me later on that while he was playing his video games, he suddenly saw me walk into the house. He said I went straight to our bedroom without much conversation, but he tried to greet me with, "Hi, babe. I thought you weren't coming home until next week. Why didn't you tell me? You surprised me," because he thought she got home early. But he said that I did not answer or respond in any way. I just gave him a look and kept walking toward the bedroom. He thought it was odd, but assumed I was just tired. At around 2 a.m., he finally finished playing his video games and went to bed. But when he opened the bedroom door, I wasn't there. Panicked, he searched the entire house, the kitchen, the bathroom, the laundry room. Nowhere to be found was she. Then suddenly, all of the lights in the house flickered. The power went out. And then it came back on again. He freaked out. I'm starting to freak out. The next morning, he called me immediately, and of course, I was still in Muskoka, not at home. We were both shaken. To this day, we believe we encountered a doppelganger. You need to follow April Grigsby because she has some cool stuff on her page, and I'm sure that if you have any questions regarding this incident, this spooky, scary paranormal stuff, she'd be able to answer you much better than I could. Hopefully I did her story justice, but you gotta go follow her.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
On the evening of May 1st, 2020, a 58-year-old woman named Cynthia Covert arrived at a client's house on Kiowa Island, South Carolina to do her client's nails. The client, a woman named Barbara, set the two women up on Barbara's covered back porch, and Cynthia went to work. Now, right away, Barbara noticed that Cynthia was not acting like herself. She was very talkative and bubbly, whereas normally she was pretty reserved. Cynthia had brought over a bottle of wine to this appointment, but Barbara hadn't seen her drink any of it. However, Barbara suspected that Cynthia may have been intoxicated before she ever showed up. However, Cynthia was also talking a lot about how excited she was to see her boyfriend who was coming into town to visit her. And so Barbara thought maybe she was just excited about this, and that's why she was so bubbly. Either way, Cynthia went about her work until at some point she stopped and she asked, "Hey, what is that?" And Barbara turns around and she sees what Cynthia's looking at. She's looking at the pond in Barbara's backyard, and Barbara sees something that's very familiar to her. It's a 10-foot long or 3-meter long American alligator just in the water right off the bank. And she says, oh yeah, he's been here for the last 20 years. He's pretty cool, but we just leave him alone. Well, Cynthia was fascinated by this alligator, and she couldn't stop looking back at it as she finished up Barbara's nails. When she did finish, Barbara went about tidying up the back porch when she turned around to notice Cynthia walking through her yard down to the water's edge, all the while taking pictures of this alligator on her cell phone. And when she got to within just several feet of this massive alligator, Barbara yelled at Cynthia and said, hey, get away from that thing. I saw that alligator grab a deer off the bank like a day or two ago. And then Cynthia yells back at Barbara, well, I don't look like a deer. Now, Barbara's husband heard this commotion from inside, and he comes walking out onto the back porch just in time to see Cynthia walk right up to this alligator within feet of it, and then she reaches out to try and pet it. And when she tried to pet it, the alligator lunged forward and grabbed her by the left leg and drug her into the pond. Now, Barbara's husband and a next-door neighbor, they go running down to the water, and the two men were able to gather up a rope somehow quickly. They threw it to Cynthia, who was easily able to grab it because she was just standing in waist-deep water at this point. The alligator was just kind of holding her by the leg. Now, the two men are in a tug-of-war with this alligator over Cynthia's body, but the alligator is winning. And then the alligator begins to thrash. And Cynthia looks up at the two men and calmly just says, well, I guess that's the last time I'll ever do that again, as the alligator puts her into a death roll and drags her under the water. They don't see her again for a few minutes. They immediately call the police, who show up quickly, but she's nowhere to be seen until a few minutes later, the alligator surfaces and it's still got Cynthia in its mouth. The alligator goes back down under the water, and it does this repeatedly for the next 15 minutes until finally one of the police officers who's there, when the alligator surfaces, the officer, he takes aim and he shoots the alligator 4 times, killing it. They retrieved Cynthia, but of course she was deceased. She had been underwater for more than 15 minutes at that point.